Welcome to the pre-game breakdown. I'm your host, Philip Dukes, aka Dukes D Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes D Scoop. And this show is brought to you by the Pre-Game Show Network. Shout out to Uncle Neely. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. So much more good content. Uncle Chico, Wednesdays with Warren Sapp. There's a lot here. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. All right, let's get into it. The Kansas Jayhawks have become the giant killers of the Big 12. Their last two victories have come against ranked opponents, and both opponents have been top 10 in the rankings this year. Iowa State was once the number 9 team in the country. They went into Kansas with one loss and lost. Then you go with BYU, formerly undefeated BYU. Played Kansas, now they got a loss. Kansas provides a different challenge than you've seen in the last 2 weeks for the Colorado Buffaloes. Texas Tech was the leading offensive team in the Big 12. If they ain't scoring, they can't win. Conversely, Utah was the number 1 defensive team in the Big 12. If they can't stop you, they can't score. They can't win, right? Kansas is right in the middle. 9th in offense, 9th in defense. So they are the definition of complementary football. They feed off each other. The defense doesn't have to have an all-star game, but if they are, the offense just plays complementary football. They're not trying to put up 1,000 yards. They're going to hold the ball. When the defense is rolling, they're going to make sure the defense is doing what they got to do. Offensively, when they need to score points, they start to air it out. That starts with Jalen Daniels. Jalen Daniels, I'd say, is one of the most intriguing quarterbacks in the Big 12. He has the ability to run the ball. He's very elusive, great athlete, but he makes some incredible throws. Throws that you wouldn't see. Probably there are not a lot of people in the country that can make some of these throws. He does a really good job of extending the play, throwing off schedule, and getting the ball downfield. Jalen Daniels has there's a really unique stat about him. He has 19 wild throws on the year. These are throws that are like top 5% throws that only a few people can make. But he has 16 throws that are pretty much turnover-prone throws. All right, what's that tell me? They line up to his stats because he has 13 touchdowns passing and he has 10 interceptions. Those touchdowns passing are beauties. And sometimes he makes some questionable decisions. So for that stat, those 16 throws that were turnover-prone throws, 6 of them ended up on the ground. But he should have thrown 16. So he should have about 19 touchdowns, and he should have about 16 based on the 16 picks based on the stats. He got 13 and 10. So the variance is there. The numbers leveling out. You get to him, you make him uncomfortable, he will turn the ball over. But if you play around with him, he'll be leading the band and start playing. He'll be leading the song touchdown. Why is he so confident throwing 50-50 balls? Well, he's got 2 really, really good receivers on the outside. One being Quinn Skinner, 6'5", around 200 pounds. Last week against BYU, he catches the ball, and there are 4 people around him. 2 people on him, 2 people coming. He skies in the air and goes and gets it at its highest point. 6'5", long arms, really good athlete. He's a senior, played a lot of football. He wants it. Then the other guy on the other side, Luke Grimm. He's the leading receiver, over 40-some catches. Really good with the ball in his hands. Has a 70-yard touchdown on the year. Runs a really good slant. The basics. The way that you are supposed to run the route tree is what he does. So you got to be looking out for Luke Grimm. But outside of the passing game, they want to run the ball. This is an old school smash mouth team disguised as a shotgun spread team. They have one formation in particular that I think provides a lot of problems for teams when you go back and look at the film. They'll go 21 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, and twins to the right and twins to the boundary. Whatever the short side is, that's where they'll put the twins. What they'll do is they'll send 1 receiver in a rocket motion. Rocket is when you go behind the quarterback. And so there's nobody on that field side. So what it's doing is putting pressure on the perimeter players on the field side because they know how much ground they have to carry, have to cover, excuse me. So they use that rocket motion to stretch the defense out, and then they go RPO to the boundary. So once they spread you out, then using the rocket motion, then they'll go RPO, or it's really more of a read option because I think it's a design run. But what they'll do is then Daniels and Neal will get together and say, all right, we're going to read the edge. And whatever this guy does, you have a blocker on the outside still. So if you've got a 6'5" guy blocking, right, you're rolling to his side, so you're not worried about that corner. You got a tight end that's going to be playing against a nickelback. Then you're going to let your tackle get to the next level on a linebacker, and you're reading the edge. So basically, whatever the edge does, we're not blocking him. Either we're going to pitch it or I'm going to cut it up inside. They've used this play so many times, and this is one of those plays that you look at and you say you got to know to stay on your P's and Q's when you see this play, when you see that formation, dangerous formation. One thing about their offense that I do like is that they convert on third downs. They are number 1 in the Big Ten when it comes to converting on third down. So for Colorado to be successful, they got to get off the field. But it starts with stopping the run. When they kill you, like even when they leave, when they read the edge has to stay home and be smart and support the rest of the team because he's becoming unblocked. Another thing that they do really well, they protect the quarterback. They also lead the Big 12 in sacks allowed. They've only given up 9 all year. Amazing stat. Now, a lot of that has to do with Daniels, the quarterback's elusivity. He's very elusive, but they do a good job. Colorado's leading the Big 12 in sacks, one of the top defensive lines in the country. This is the test. You got to get to Daniels and you got to get him on the ground, and you cannot allow him to extend the play. You got to swarm, and you got to stop the run. We haven't talked enough about Devin Neal. Devin Neal is the all-time leading rusher in Kansas history. Has over 4,000 yards, averaging over 90 yards a game. Really tough, 5'11", 215 pounds. He can do it all. He loves to run between the tackles, and he finishes every run. Can't wait to see him against these Colorado linebackers. They have a challenge on their hands. And what they will do, they will throw him the ball. He's an excellent pass catcher. You cannot key on Devin Neal based on the formation because he will get out. He will get out in the flat. And not only the flat, see, a lot of times people run the flat route to the running back, and they say, okay, well, we ran the flat. I covered him. I'm good. Now you're looking around trying to make a play. They run him on those wheels. He scored on it last week. If you go back and look at the BYU film, they basically ran a tight end seam and a wheel right behind it. The tight end saw the linebacker for BYU saw the running back in the flat, saw the seam behind him, and when it helped on the seam and left the wheel, ran straight by him. Took that false step. It's a wheel. By the time he found out, the band was playing. There was a party in apartments. You feel me? So listen, defensively, Colorado has to key on these guys. But if you can do those things and you can hold them to 17 points, like BYU did, Colorado's going to win. This is the other thing. They didn't get off last week when they beat BYU. BYU held them to under 300 yards offense, but it was timely offense. So to my point, they are right at 50% on third downs. You cannot allow them to convert third downs at that high of a clip this week. Let's talk about what they like to do defensively. Yeah, they can play some defense. They've got stars in different places on the field. So last week I talked about how good Utah's secondary was in the corner, how deep they were. They had 3 corners that I really liked. Well, they've got 2 top-end corners that rival anybody. When you look at Kobe Bryant, what he does, man, I mean, he's been there, battle-tested guy. He's able to come up and run support. Slim guy, but he gives you everything he has. Really good in coverage. And I just think that they're not the type of defense that you can just throw the ball up and hope for the best. You got to be on time. They've been doing it for a while. And just knowing the fact that on the perimeter they feel comfortable. So they will blitz. They like to send those safeties. They play three safeties. Uh, two of them. When you think about Marvin Grant, OJ Burrows, like these guys will come up and run support. They will hit you. Veteran guys, they will blitz them. So when you get those one-on-one opportunities, you got to win. So, like I said, they definitely convert their opportunities when it comes to when you throw it around them and you're not on schedule. They will pick the ball off. They're third in the Big 12 with 12 interceptions. Um, they get to the quarterback as well. Third in the Big 12 with 24 sacks. How did they get those sacks? Got a guy by the name of Dean Miller, 6'5", 240-pound edge rusher. He's got 5.5 sacks. Really good, has multiple moves. Going to be a great matchup this weekend. Also, you got Jerome Robinson. He's the senior guy. He's played a lot of football. He also has 5.5 sacks. So you look at J.B. Brown, the linebacker. He has 4 sacks. Um, Tackling machine leads them in total tackles. Had a great game last week. So they have defensive players, and what they like to do, they're gonna rush 4. You got your edge rusher, but they're going to send pressures from different angles because they know that they're going to play 3 safeties a lot of the time, and they know those corners on those islands. They're fine. Matter of fact, let me get the other corner's name. It just slipped me, man. And because you got to remember this name. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. Interceptions. Sorry about that, man. But I could not let y'all go without knowing these like who their other corner is. Mello Dotson. Mello. Gotta watch Mello Dotson. Now he's the guy when you try to throw a fade on him. He positions himself well. He positions himself well. He boxes out. Last week he had a big interception in the end zone where they tried to throw a fade on him. He's 6'1". He's got size. He's a guy. If it came down to NFL, I think he would probably go before Kobe Bryant. He's the guy. Prototype corner. He could play anywhere in the country. I could not leave his name out. And it slipped my mind, so I had to go get it. Remember those 2 names, Mello Dotson and Kobe Bryant. They're going to be huge in the matchups against Colorado's receivers. They're also good in the red zone. Teams aren't converting in the red zone that well against Kansas. When they shorten the field, they let those corners roam. They send those safeties, and they all come up and hit. So I think the key to the game for Colorado is going to be to make sure you run the ball or use the extension of the run game, stay in your quick game, and run some of that screen wheel type stuff. Don't allow these cornerbacks to key in. They're too good. You have to be multiple in your offense, right? You got to run the ball to play complementary football, right? I think defensively, Colorado will be fine. You just got to get the quarterback on the ground. But outside of that, and wrap up and tackle. But outside of that, offensively, this defense is very opportunistic. What you have to do is make sure that the run game stays in the game plan and you use those quick plays to allow your athletes to make plays. And when they start to bite, that's when you take advantage of them. Make them bring those safeties down. Make those corners get antsy. They love to make plays. Use it against them. It's almost like a screenplay. You know how they so on most screens, the offensive line are ole or just let the defensive line go by and get out in the space. So the defensive line is thinking they have something, they don't have nothing. Same thing on the perimeter with the wide receiver screens when you have these type of corners who love to make plays and that are really good at making plays. You got to throw the screen, and you got to screen and pump. You got to give them some looks. Screen this side, seam inside. Mix it up. And I've seen Sherman do it all year. When he mixes up looks, there isn't a better offensive coordinator in the country when he starts to mix it up. So I think that you want to start fast, and we've been asking for a fast start week after week. I think this is the game that Colorado knows they can't afford to play around with. They can smell it. They can see it. They can touch it. They can taste it. They're ready. I went to practice last week. I went to practice on Tuesday. Uncle Neely showed me around. What I saw in practice that made me feel like Colorado is ready is the way they compete. And I know they've been doing this all year. But the way they compete down the field, corners, wide receivers, man, they compete. The stuff you see these guys do in the game ain't by accident. They're doing it all week long. And I think as long as they continue to compete, they're going up on one, they're going up. They practice sometimes going up over two defenders. And the DBs high point the ball. If they continue to do these things in tough situations, I don't think Kansas can stay on the field with them long. Kansas has had a good run. They do a lot of good things, and I wanted to make sure that everybody knew what they were capable of. But one thing I don't think they're capable of is beating Colorado if they play their game. When Colorado plays their game, they're really tough to beat. The spread is only like 2.5. Yeah, I think Colorado wins at least by 10, maybe probably 14, if not more. I think this is the game where we see Colorado put more of a complete game together. Last week, even after beating Utah the way you did, Coach Prime is still like, I'm not satisfied. That ain't it. We need more. We can do better. I think this is the game. I think the players are starting to get it. Like, all right, guys, let's lock in. You cut down on the penalties last game. Special teams got involved. This is the game where I think that you see more. And when you got a quarterback that makes mistakes against this type of pass rush, I think the defense can impact the game in a way where you set the offense up to where this can get ugly fast. So look, Colorado Buffs fans, you got a lot to be excited about. I'm sure if you're looking, the future looks really bright. So now you just got to stay in the now. Make sure you root the Buffs on. I think it'll be a good weekend in Kansas. All right, that's my time. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Dukes, I'm out.